Okay, welcome one and all for this irrigation engineering subject code 1615505, and we are going to see about the canals lecture 2. Okay, our contents of the lecture are to design the most economical canal section. Okay, actually you can see a canal section in this 2D diagram that I have been represented in the slide. You can see the canal bank which is on the present on both sides above the hydraulic gradient line, and you can see a freeboard which is given up to the top portion and a soil berm which is present at the both sides of the banks, and you can see the spoil bank, outside borrow pit, inside borrow pit, and counter berm, service road, dowel or dowla. Okay, I am going to explain what are these components in the further and upcoming slides. Okay, this is an important diagram, please make note of it. Okay, people who don't now have any idea about a canal, how it looks like, you can see this. This is literally a canal. Okay, this is an internal narrow canal which is present in a city. Okay, it's actually present in Venice in Italy. Okay. Okay, what are the components of the irrigation canal is our first basic concept, in which we are going to see about canal bank. Okay, canal bank is actually present in order to retain the water in the canal to full supply level. Okay, it is the main feature of the canal bank. It actually retains the water at a full supply level. Okay, and the second point is canal banking depends on different site conditions. Okay, actually if there is like a rock and like sill like formations, it will be like a different type of canal bank will be actually constructed. And if there is like a slopy formation, or like the sand is of loamy type or like silty type, then the canal formation, the canal bank formation will be like a different one. Okay, and first the case one is when canal is full in cutting. Okay, based on the site conditions, the case one is when canal is full in cutting. In this case, the banks are constructed on both sides of the canal to provide only a inspection road. Okay, inspection road is actually provided whether the canal is like durable. Okay, durable, and it is inspected for like once a month or like twice a month. Okay, during that inspection, they will identify if there are any cracks or fissures in the canal bank, and any repairs that have to be done majorly. Okay, they will actually inspect that. Okay, and the second point is the hydraulic gradient has no function in this case. Actually, the hydraulic gradient here you are maintaining does not have any function at all. You are just you going to store the water up to the maximum level of the bank. Okay, it's what the procedure for the canal bank. Okay, or you're going to retain the water. Okay, then the third point, the height of the bank will be low and top width will be minimum just to produce a roadway. Okay, only the roadway actually is actually an important factor for which the canal bank is also constructed. So the height of the bank will be low and the top width will be high to produce a roadway. Okay, the side slopes will be for general it will be like 1:1. Okay, and according to the nature of the soil, the rate of slope will change. Actually 1:1 by 2:2 or 2:1, like it will be changing continuously. Okay. Okay, you have seen when the canal is at like full cut. Okay, in the case one, and in the case two, actually when canal is partially cut. In this case, the banks are constructed on both sides. As you can see in the previous slide also, it is constructed in the similar way. But what is the difference between this partially and fully cut is that the section of the canal depends on hydraulic gradient. Okay, on the fully cut canal, the hydraulic gradient is not taken into necessity. Okay, it's just for a measurement. But in this case too, actually the canal depends generally on the hydraulic gradient up to the top width. Okay, and the side slope of the bank should be in such a way that the hydraulic gradient should have a minimum cover. Okay, the minimum cover you are going to maintain is like 0.5 meter. Actually, if you are going to produce a freeboard, okay, in a dam, you are going to construct a dam, and you are giving a freeboard means you will generally give between 1 meter to 2 meter for the excessive storage level or the maximum storage level or the HFL up to which you are going to store the water. Okay, but in this case of canals, you are going to give a minimum cover of up to 0.5 meter. Okay, Okay, now we are going to look at into the canal is at full banking condition. Okay, according to this condition, you can see two different canal banks are constructed at the both opposite sides and parallel sides, and this condition originally occurs when the canal is at full banking. The canal is generally constructed above the ground level. You can see the canal is not excavated to a certain level. The total water which is present inside the canal is taken as the full reservoir level. Okay, it is took up to the full reservoir level, and you can see the cross section of the bank has a core wall. Okay, the core wall is generally consisting of the puddle clay. Okay, this puddle clay actually reduces the hydraulic gradient downwards. Okay, actually the hydraulic gradient, you know what is hydraulic gradient? It is the line up to which the maximum head of water is there in the canal minus the velocity of the head. Okay, it is called as the hydraulic gradient line. Okay, I may repeat again. The hydraulic gradient line is the maximum available head. Okay, maximum available head in the canal minus the velocity of the head. Okay, you remember this, and you arrange with according to the third point. Okay, the third point here mentions to minimize the cross section of the bank, a core wall of puddle clay is produced which deflects the hydraulic gradient line. Okay, I have explained you about hydraulic gradient line now. Okay. Okay, now we are going to see about the important concept, that is the berms. Okay, berms are also known as the soil berms. I have teached in the previous slides about the soil berms. Okay, soil berms which are present on the embankment of the bank, the dam. Okay, actually these soil berms is actually present in order to protect the dam from failing. Okay, actually we are going to see according to the canal. Okay, here the distance between the bank and the OP edge of cutting is termed as berm. Okay, what is OP edge means? The ending edge. Okay, the ending edge of the cutting is known as the OP edge. Okay, or it is known as the edge, the sliding edge or the ending edge. Okay, you understand that. To protect the bank from erosion, as I said, for dam it is similar for bank, the water bank too. Okay, to provide a space for widening the canal section in the future. Okay, to protect the bank from sliding down towards the center of the section. Okay, now what does this cause the sliding means? Due to the erosion, sliding may occur. So to protect that, the berms are provided. The silt deposition on the berm makes an impervious lining. Impervious lining is nothing but the entry of water. Okay, entry of water can be stopped by this impervious lining. Okay, so the silt deposition is done on the berm. Okay, if necessary, burrow pit can be excavated on the berms. Okay, actually this burrow pits are excavated on the soil berms. If whenever there is a necessity of releasing the excess water, you can actually send the water through this burrow pits, or when you are going to provide a piping line, or like you are going to provide a like a well, or like you are going to provide a motor through it, you can actually provide this burrow pit. Okay, then the width of the berm depends on various factors such as the capacity of the canal, nature of the soil and its site conditions. Okay, understand that really clearly. Okay. Okay, this is how the berm exactly looks like. Okay, you can see the like the slopy formation where they are being constructing the berm in such a way that the silt portion is on the top layer, which is an impervious lining which does not allow the water to get inside. Okay, and you can see the burrow pits are constructed on the like there is a path. No, there are some burrow pits which are being constructed. You can see clearly. Okay, these are the soil berms. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to explain you about the hydraulic gradient. Okay, in the previous slide I have explained you what is a hydraulic gradient in a simple manner, which means that it is the available head which is present in a canal or in a pipe or anything minus the velocity of the head. Okay, velocity of the head means the maximum head up to which the water is present. Okay, its velocity. Okay, actually in definition, whenever the water retained by the canal bank, the seepage occurs through the body of the bank. Okay, due to the resistance of the soil, the saturation line forms a sloping line which may pass through the countryside of the bank, which means that in the previous slide you take as an example, you can see the soil bank which is constructed on either sides. Okay, the canal bank or the soil bank which is constructed on the either side, and you can see inside a line which is passing through, like the dotted lines which are being passing through. Those are known as the hydraulic gradient lines. Okay, this hydraulic gradient line is generally like passing through when the water which is seepaging into the body of the bank, and the resistance which is provided by the soil against this water seepage forms a saturation line. Okay, the dotted line is known as the saturation line or sloping line, which is known as the hydraulic gradient line. Okay, understand it clearly. As I have mentioned that the actually the water seepage is continuously occurring, and the soil is tend to oppose the entry of water. The hydraulic gradient line depends on the permeability of the soil. Okay, if whenever the permeability increases, actually the line will start to increase. Okay, it will go step by step ahead, that it will increase to a certain level. Okay, but if the soil permeability is less, the line will go slantingly or sloping. Okay, it will form like a slopy formation. Okay, that is called as uh, the saturation point. Okay, then the sloping line is also known as the hydraulic gradient or the saturation gradient, as I have mentioned in the point. Okay, when constructing the bank of the soil, you should test the soil in the testing lab about the hydraulic gradient. Okay, how much the soil is tend to resist the entry of water. Okay, you are going to test that in the soil lab. Okay, fine. Okay, these are the hydraulic gradient line like values. Actually, you have to take these values while you are going to construct the particular bank, canal bank over the soil. So you have to note that correctly. So for clay soil, it's 1:4. Alluvial soil, it's 1:5. Sandy soil, it's 1:6. Okay, these are the Indian standards. Okay. Okay, now we are going to see about the counter berm. Okay, when the water is retained by the canal, the bank in the hydraulic line, you know, I have explained what is a hydraulic line, which passes through the body of the bank, and for stability of the bank, the gradient should not intersect the outer side of the bank. It should pass through the base, and the minimum cover of 0.5 meters should always be maintained sometimes, so that the hydraulic line intersects to the outer side of the bank. Okay, you generally you can visualize that. Okay, in the case, the three cases I have mentioned in the previous thing, like when the bank is at full cutting, when the bank is at partial cutting, and when the bank is at complete. Okay, in the three cases you can see the hydraulic gradient line varying continuously. Okay, when the hydraulic gradient is at the base, okay, when it is at the base portion of the canal bank, when it passes through the base portion of the canal bank, then it is no problem for you. Okay, there will be no problem. You can just give a 0.5 meter cover through the bank, and you can construct it clearly. Okay, but so that the stability of the bank will be nice. Okay, if it actually passes or intersects and goes outside the bank above it, then it generally causes some stability issues. Okay, so you have to construct this counter berm. Okay, in order to fix that. Okay, then in that case a projection is provided on the bank to obtain minimum cover. So that projection is called as the counter berm. Okay, that was I am explaining in the second slide. Second point. Okay, actually this counter berm is generally a small, like it is not like the most big soil berm which is being constructed. It is a typical small size berm. Okay, it is being constructed in order to make the hydraulic gradient line, in order that it passes at the base. I am repeating it again. It actually, the hydraulic gradient should like flow towards the baseline. Okay, towards the baseline of the canal bank, so that the stability will be maintained perfectly. Okay, if the stability is not maintained perfectly, then it will cause the canal bank to collide, or it will make the eroding portion to occur. Okay, So counter berm is adopted. Okay, the width of the berm depends on the site conditions. Okay, fine. Okay, in this slide you can see the counter berm. Counter berm is nothing but the line like formation. You can see now here this line like, okay, this total thing is called as the counter berm. Okay, this total thing is called as the counter berm, and it is provided in order that the canal bank does not fail due to erosion, or it does not fail due to the improper stability. Okay, it is provided in such a way that it is based on the hydraulic lines. Okay, fine. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the freeboard. I have explained you in the previous slides about the freeboard. Okay, freeboard is generally a distance between the normal water level and the maximum level of water up to which the water can be stored. Okay, in a dam. Okay, where the water, if the water exceeds, sometimes if it exceeds to a certain like excessive portion, then it can be stored up to this freeboard. Okay, it should not exceed more than this freeboard, or it will overtop from the dam, and it will flow from the crest of the bank towards the downstream side. Okay, you have to design in such a way that the freeboard should be in the value between 0.5 meter to 0.75 meter. Okay, to keep a sufficient margin so that the canal water can stop from overtopping, as I have mentioned in the first point. Okay, it should be in such a way that you should design the water flow should not overtop the crest. Okay, crest portion of the canal or dam or any structure you are constructing, any storage structure you are constructing, this freeboard is actually provided. Okay, fine. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the side slope. Okay, the side slope of the canal bank and canal section depends on the angle of repose of the soil existing on our site. So to determine the side slope of different sections, the soil sample should be collected from the site and should be tested in the testing lab. Okay, I am going to explain this point. Okay, actually you are providing the canal bank in such a way that it is in a slopy formation. Okay, it is at a like a sliding formation, and it will be having an angle. Okay, it will be like a 45-degree angle, or like it will be sometimes in a 60-degree angle. Okay, the slope will be depending upon your design or upon the site conditions and upon the type of soil which is present on the particular area. Okay, you are going to design upon that, so that in order to provide that side slope, you are going to determine the angle of repose of the soil. Okay, then while deciding this, you are going to test the soil in the testing lab. Okay, then second point, the testing is done in order to find the permissible slope. I have mentioned as the first point. Okay, you are going to first find the permissible slope, like the 60-degree, or it is like 45-degree, or you based up. Okay, these degrees are based on the value of the site condition and on the type of soil which is present at that site. Okay, kindly take it in your mind. Okay, then the third point, the soil in that place will go on sliding gradually until the angle of repose for the particular soil is obtained. So the point concludes. Okay, I have said in the previous point. Okay, the perfect, if there is a perfect soil condition, you can construct the slope at a perfect angle of repose. Okay, in such a way that your angle of repose does not allow your canal bank to fail. Okay, so you have to decide, you have to go and test in the soil lab about which soil slope you are going to construct the canal bank. Okay, fine. Okay, now we are going to talk about the service road. Okay, the service road is a road which is provided on the top or the crest portion of the canal bank. Okay, this canal bank over the entire portion connects between the canal bank on the left side and on the right side. Okay, towards the right side. Okay, actually this road is given for the inspection purposes only, not for the general traffic purposes or for any public transportation purposes. Okay, this only for the inspection or maintenance work. Okay, for the main canal, the service roads are provided on both sides of the canal, as I have said in the first point. Okay, for the branch canals, in the road is provided on the bank, only the width of the service road should be varying between 4 meter to 6 meter for branch canal, so that the varying should not exceed 3 meter to 4 meter. Okay, can you understand the point? Actually, if you are providing the service road for the branch canal, it should be between 3 meter to 4 meter. Okay, and for main canal it should be varying between 4 meter to 6 meter. Okay, fine. Okay, now we are going to look at into dowel. Dowel is a portion which is present on the top or the top left side of the uh, canal bank. When you analyze the diagram which is given on our like third slide, you can see correctly where the dowel is being given. Okay, the purpose of the protective small embankment, actually to protect the small embankment which is provided on the canal side of the service road, this dowel is being provided. Okay, it is provided above the FSL which the level up to which the maximum water is being retained. Okay, with the provision of the freeboard. Okay, in the canal, the top width is generally 0.5 meter, when above the ground level is about 0.5 meter. Okay, understand it. Now we are going to look about the spoil banks. Okay, actually when a canal is going to be constructed, at the second case, according to the second case, the full cutting, the excavated soil earth, okay, for the construction of the canal is completely required for the forming of the canal bank. Okay, so the extracted earth which is deposited in the form of small banks is known as the spoil bank. Okay, could you understand that? The construction, during the construction of the canal bank, you will excavate certain amount of earth for the construction of the canal. At that time, the excavated earth is used for the formation of this spoil banks, which are kind of small. Okay, so these are called as the spoil banks. Then the spoil banks are provided on one side or both side of the canal bank. Could you understand that? The spoil banks are actually provided on one side or on the both sides. Okay, suppose if you are going to construct a spoil bank on one side, you are going to need the excavated earth. Okay, and it also depends upon the available space. Okay, if suppose there is no space available, you cannot construct this small bank or the spoil bank. Okay, the spoil banks are provided on one side or both side of the earth. Okay, kindly consider this. Okay, and the canal bank actually depends upon the quantity of excess earth and its available space. Okay. Okay, we are going to see about the borrow pits. Okay, the borrow pits are generally constructed when the canal is going to be constructed based upon the second and third cases I have explained in the previous slides. Okay, that is the partial cutting and partial banking. Okay, the excavated earth may not be sufficient for forming this required banks, so the borrow pits are generally constructed. Okay, in such a case, the extra earth, okay, the extra earth which you have been excavated for the construction of the banks is being taken, which are known as the borrow pits. Okay, you generally understand it. Okay, during the construction of the canal, according to the second and third cases of partial cutting and partial banking, the excavated earth which you are going to excavate during the construction of the canal is may not be sufficient for forming this required bank or the canal bank. Okay, so in that case, you are going to construct this small amount of earth which is taken from the which is not available for the construction of the required bank, is used to construct this borrow pits. Okay, this borrow pits may be inside or outside the canal. Okay, kindly get it. Okay, the width of the borrow pit should be half of the base width of the canal. Okay, if you consider the base of the canal, you can consider the half of the base width up to which the borrow pit has been constructed. Okay, the borrow pit diameter will be like half. Okay, the max depth of the borrow pit should be 1 meter. Okay, the excavation is done in number of borrow pits, leaving a gap. Okay, you should leave a gap between each and every borrow pits which you are going to construct. Okay, okay, fine.